I'm here with Tim at JK Boots, and we're gonna do a factory tour right now.
Let's do it.
All right.
The first department we'll check out is just the cutting and like sewing part. So we would call it like our uppers department. So where they can literally grab the hide, lay it out.
This is the first step of the process, right?
The entire first. Okay. So we'll have a bill ticket with there's the customer name, their order number, what they wanted, what they ordered, their size, and they go to work. And typically what they do is, like, let's say that there's 20 different tickets.
No.
They'll go and they'll try to break it up. So they'll try to go, okay, let's get all the brown ones in one group. Let's get all the bison ones in one group. And let's try to get all the black ones in one group. And that way they can grab like a hide of, let's say, black leather. He'll roll it out and he'll just focus on, okay, I got 4 pair of blacks here. So we got to get all the best stuff. We got to get this portion I had, this portion I had. So we'll roll out a hide like this. And so, see, he's already marked an area that we're not going to cut that area. That's a scar or something like that. And so he'll take a hide and he'll start breaking up, from the kidneys to that back spine area of the cow. He'll take the best part, which is the strongest part that has to be, which is that vamp, that toe area. He'll cut it from the kidney area, and then he'll work his way out. And when he's taken the best part, he'll move on to the next hide and take the next best piece.
Okay.
You can't use like the belly leather for the vamp because that's just bad quality. That's bad choice. The belly is down here lower. It's softer. It stretches. So stay away from that. For like the tough parts, that's most of the time just scrap or something. So when he's got the parts cut, we'll have a box, with all the parts and pieces.
This is a whole boot right here?
Yeah, so like there's literally all the parts and pieces for the boot. So lining, we've got an insulated pair in here. There's about 8 to 10 pairs per like set. So we'll put the parts and pieces of the prep together. This is all that prep table. And this is that skiving machine. So if you see him here, this is actually good. So if he'll grab like some parts and pieces, and we've got to feather those edges. And that skiver machine right now, it's working, and as you can see, it's feathering the edge. And he's getting the thickness that he wants. So we do that for all of these parts and pieces to get that exact part. So when that's done, move over to sewing. And the way that the sewing department will work is they'll have one or two guys that are dedicated to 1 or 2 parts or 3 parts of the sewing part, because they're masters at that, because a certain area of the sewing is a little bit more challenging. So like, for example, like here's a bison boot. The blucher, the counter, it's a little bit more challenging. It's thicker leather. And so we'll have someone who's like extremely dedicated to that. So let's take a look at these two guys. He's starting in a little bit earlier stage. So he's doing the top facing. He's going to he did the seams in the back. And so he'll work on that. He'll work on a group or a set. And he'll just totally focus on that. It'll be perfect. He'll trim it, cut the excess threads, and then move on. So this is like one of the more skilled posts. This is the very difficult part. This is the blucher. So that's connecting the upper to the vamp. And so see, it's meticulous. He's super focused on it, and he's just completely dedicated. It's perfect. He'll like, you get in the zone and you just focus on this one thing, and it's like, it gets it perfect. So he's the last stage of sewing. So see, he's gonna cut the excess threads. He's gonna flip it around right now, and then he'll do the other side. You'll see him connect it here. It's pretty cool to watch, actually. So this will be the eyeletting and like hardware area. So we've got eyelet machines and hook machines, and this is what we do actually before we even sew that blucher. So he'll punch, this machine automatically punches a hole and the hardware right away. And it's automated, so it'll move, it moves the boot over. So it's easier, it's a little faster that way. They don't really make these anymore, so we take really good care of it. And from there, we'll move on to the lasting department. So lasting department is super, super important. So like, here's a good example right here. So we'll have an upper that's already been sewn, everything's installed. This is going to be trimmed exactly form fit to the last. And then what we'll do is we'll take the upper, we'll actually soak it in hot water. The upper's been it's soaked in hot water. And now he's doing this initial shaping and initial forming. And so this is going to sit overnight. And then tomorrow, when they get the next stage, which we call dry lasting, the leather will already have some form and some shape to it. He's getting that initial pull, he's getting that initial shape, and this is like really key because the leather right now, it's gonna have some memory to it. It's gonna get that form, it's gonna get that shape. He's straightening it all out, has to be aligned, and everything has to be centered. With leather, every little part moves a little bit. Like, so he's checking it out right now. Does it look good? Is it lined up? Is it straight? If it's not, he can move it around. He can tap a certain area here, tap a certain area there, pull it.
And this is where like getting the right cut works out, because if you pulls, it can stretch the leather too much if it's at the right cut.
Exactly. Also, as like, this whole thing with the right size, right? So if there's not enough on there, it's gonna be a lot harder for him to pull.
Okay.
And a lot of times, if there's not enough, he can't pull it.
Right.
Leather only stretches so much. But yeah, he's good. He's a lot of experience in this a long time. This is after the heel has already been lasted. So this is already like, this boot was wet lasted, either yesterday or the day before.
And he's just lightly tacking it in to basically so the glue sets.
Because that'll get pulled out when we go to the shanking and bottom. Oh, this is super important because he has to get the full stretch out of the leather right now.
Right.
That's gonna make sure that it's a good fit over time, and that customers not gonna get a pair of boots and then they're not gonna stretch out and get all loose and floppy. 6 months in. Finishing touches. You want to make sure we call them pleats, so that those pleats are nice and flush.
Right. So you don't kind of see like a ripple at the bottom.
It's not sticking out.
And what kind of leather do you use for your lining?
So it's cowhide. It's called a split suede cowhide.
Okay.
It's usually 3 to 3.5 ounces. Four would be a little thick. It'd be a little too much around the foot. And it's kind of the perfect 3 to 3.5. Super high quality because it's supposed to be. It's going to last a long time. That's what your foot is actually going to be touching the inside. Yeah. That's glue. So it's just really strong adhesive. This is going to put not too thick of a layer, just in this area that's on the lining, and now onto the actual leather vamp. First initial pull. That's big. That's key. So it's set in place.
Get the first one.
Yeah. Now we're rolling everything together. Now we're rolling the pleats together. Yeah, that's that. So that's a finished last boot. Before we send it off to the bottoming area, we actually have a QC station. So just check everything. We check the ticket. We check, does everything match up? Does everything line up? Is it straight? Is it lined up? Hardware lines up. The threads look good. And anything that we don't think is to our level of what we believe to be perfect, we either get it fixed now, we send it back, we undo it, we redo it.
Okay.
So this is pretty important. And this is only our first QC station. We actually have 2 more after this.
Okay.
And so throughout the entire journey of the boot, we're just going to QC the whole thing the whole time to make sure that it's being done.
Nice.
So after the boots dry a little bit, because we want them to be fully dry, that'll maybe take, again, a few more days or something. We'll send it off to our shanking and bottoming department. Really, we call it our bottoming department.
Okay.
What they'll do is they'll take a boot, they'll pull out all of those tacks. It's called a stitch down style. So we'll cut here, and we form this welt. So we kind of push this all out with a hammer. We tap it out, we crown it. We call it crowning. When we push this welt out, and then we build up the arch support and the actual shank. So this is called a shank. We hear that a lot, like, people say like steel shank or whatever.
Right.
We use only leather.
It's all leather.
This is it right here. And underneath this thick layer right here is a smaller actual arch support strip.
Okay.
That's under there, and that kind of builds that up right there.
So I do think I want to stop on the shank.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a little bit of misinformation about like why leather. So I'm actually curious about why leather.
Very good question. So with steel shanks, they kind of have no give. So here's a steel shank. We'll install these into our climber boots because someone who's climbing like poles or like arborist alignment, they actually need that rigidity. So this one, it has no give. There's no forgiveness to it. And a climber, he needs that. A leather shank, it has give. Even though it's stiff, it has give to it, and so it allows the boot to break in. It's more comfortable. So it allows the arch to kind of like form to your foot and move around. And if you have a taller arch, well, then it won't settle down as much. If you have a little bit of a smaller arch, then it will settle down a little more. So it's kind of that flexibility. It's forgiving.
Okay.
With a steel shank, I don't think it's as comfortable for just like being on your feet 20 hours a day, 16 hours a day. For the climbers, it's kind of, they have to have it because they're in stirrups and they're climbing all day.
Right. That's why they have kind of pressure right on that.
Exactly. So after it's been shanked, we'll bottom it. And so that's when we do this part right here. So we'll put on the full midsole, and then we'll bottom it with 2 rows of nails right here. So these are nails that are puncturing through this thick midsole.
Okay.
And they're actually going to legitimately set in here, and they're going to clinch. Okay. The nail is going to go in. It's going to hit the bottom of the last, and that nail is going to go in and like bend back. Okay. It's called clinching and sinking in. This is super important. This is done by somebody super skilled. And it's this setting in, it's these nails getting in here, and this whole midsole is kind of like the foundation of the boot. So the entire boot will rest on this midsole. This is super important. We use a thick 12 iron midsole. That's very thick, oak tan, veg tan leather. That's legit. And then we do this McKay lock stitch on the inside to kind of seal those pieces together. This is kind of the fun part, I think. This is one of the coolest machines we have here. This is our stitcher machine. So this is old school, we're talking 60s and 70s technology. They don't make these anymore. And this stitcher can stitch through up to 7/8 inch thickness. And it's got a needle awl system. So the needle is on the top and the awl is on the bottom. And the awl will puncture a hole through the sole. And then the needle will come down and actually do the stitch. And probably the bobbin ran out, in a small, right almost halfway through. Yeah. So now with skill, he's going to get in the same exact spot, in the same exact hole where it ended. He's going to continue the thread along as if it never stopped. After it gets stitched through, we move over to our heels department. We use a full leather base. Looks like this. So this is stacked leather and then a heel cap. And this stacked leather heel base will actually sit right here, and we'll line it up with our gauges. And there'll be a set of nails that puncture this leather heel base and cinch this whole rear part of the boot down. So those nails, it'll go through this whole...
Yeah, so you have nails through the midsole attaching to the insole.
Yes.
And then you have nails through the heel attaching to the midsole, through the insole, and through this part of the outsole.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
So let me pull this last out. You get a little bit of a better idea. This metal plate right here, so this is where all those nails hit. Yeah. So the nail will literally puncture through. This is what it looks like. So this nail, it'll puncture through all of that material, and it'll hit this plate, and it'll clinch up. Okay. It'll get locked in there. So the customer, obviously the wearer will never feel it. And we're talking about this nail will go through the entire base. So it'll go through the, we're talking almost over probably an inch of material. Wow. So through the entire base, through the entire sole, the midsole, and the insole, hit that plate and clinch. It'll actually legitimately lock in the rear part of the boot. Sometimes we'll see boots come back like other brands or something, and this part will be falling apart.
Right.
Because we do it this way, that's never happens.
It's never happened.
So it's very tough. After the heels get done, we'll go to these sanding routines. And so we have rough sanding and then we have fine sanding. Although this is a good example here. So we've got one that's pretty much complete and one that's incomplete. And so see, this one's raw, right? It's it just had the base put on, just had the heel put on. There's no definition to it. See, this one's been completed, right? So it's got the cap, it's got the base, and so we'll literally use the different grits of sandpaper. So the rough sanding is much more to just get a lot of this material out. Right. So we just want to chew a lot of this out. We have that round shape. That's what actually gives us this logger shape right here. So that's what gives us that logger shape. They'll obviously also go all around the sole. They'll go around, make it totally round, make it flush. That's a big part of it too. When that's done, it'll move over to the finishers. And so over here with finishing, we have all these various inks and brushes. And so, all these different colors. And this is where they do all the ink. This is just, a simple spinning wheel. And it'll do all the ink. We'll do brown. We'll do different colors. We'll do the stains. All of a sudden, this is where kind of that magic part happens. And it's ultimately a simple process, but it is a high-skilled process because you have to have an idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
And you have to know how the ink works, how the ink sets into the leather, all that portion. After it's done here, boots will roll out back to where we came from as our second QC station. Okay. So before the boots head to shipping, we do another round of QC. So we just examine the whole thing. We have a checklist that we go over. We check the ticket. The options match what's on the ticket. Is the welt sanding flush? Is it round? Is there rough sanding marks? Are there any loose threads? Is it lasted good? Are we missing any hardware? Is the stitching good? Is the ink look clean?
Yeah. Does
it look shiny? Are there glue marks? Things like this. Does it look nice and clean and ready to go and tip-top shiny shape? And so any kind of finishing touch. That's a good looking boot right there. So this one's good. Anything that's good. BootSpy Brew World. So anything like that we'll fix, and we're pretty dedicated to that. So you want to give that impression of when the guy gets it first time. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And so we do work pretty hard at that. Some of the leathers are a little more touchy and difficult. Some of them are a little bit more simple. Like the mahogany that we use for some of our 300s, it's a really good leather. And so it's pretty simple and easy to touch up and clean if you need to. It's a really nice leather on its own, and almost you don't want to add too much shine to it or something like that because you kind of want the natural hide to shine on its own.
I just realized the 360 is called the 360 because it's got a 360 degrees.
That's the idea. We call it a 360 degree stitch down, and this is super good. People love this model. It's like a lower cost alternative boot and still works really well. We do a lot of these. This is a very common kind of casual entry-level boot, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
That, I wouldn't recommend going and fighting a fire in, but for pretty much any kind of all-purpose, all-day boot
Right.
as well. I've actually got a pair of them right now,
All right.
and I've been wearing these for a while already. This is that redwood color, and
Okay.
really, really happy with it. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. That after this, the last final stage, that's going to be the shipping. They'll print out a label. They'll do a final QC check. They'll double check the ticket. They'll remove the bill ticket. They'll file it. They'll put it in a box with our bubble wrap and oil and, and tongue guards and laces and some paperwork instructions just to explain, hey, congratulations, welcome to the family. You got a pair of boots. Here's what you got to do. Here's how you got to take care of them. All of the work that we just saw does kind of hinge on what is the initial opening of the box.
Right.
And if that is not very good, it's people don't know all the work that goes into it.
Right.
So even though this is like, you could say, a small part in the journey of the boot being made,
Kind of ends up being a big deal. Yeah.
it's a huge deal. And so finishing and the whole just unpacking experience is really important to us.
Yeah. One thing I noticed is that you guys dole out a huge bottle of Obenauf's leather oil with each one. I was surprised when I got my climbers. I was like,
What we do, yeah. And we do this thing where you can sign, you sign up your name for our newsletter, and we'll get you a bottle of oil. And
okay.
a lot of times, over a certain price of purchase, we'll just gift a bottle of oil. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, people buy that accessory, but usually we try to almost every box goes out with a bottle of oil. And we try to do a pair of insoles in every box. We'll do tongue guards, we'll do laces, and then just a lot of help, just a lot of instructions, a lot of help. We have QR codes in there to the YouTube videos and to link them. So the customer is ultimately the focal point. Everything we do is for them. And, even though we're just bootmakers, we're also customer service people, where everyone's kind of on the same team of like, we're making this for a person. Somebody ordered this, somebody bought this, somebody wants this, and they want that nice handmade experience. So it's a bit of a challenge, but of course, nothing that you can't handle or can't do. But that's the whole journey.
Nice.
It's pretty simple. There's a lot of details in between, but that's the journey.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for showing me around, Tim. I really appreciate it. And I highly recommend JK Boots. We were walking around this whole factory and just looking at it, and it's such an amazing process to see how these are made and just what tanks they are at the end. And so I
appreciate that.
JK Boots, thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. See ya.